They know what they have in these two quarterbacks. They've seen them day in and day out. Taylor Heinicke was the number 2 quarterback for a reason all of this time. There's a reason they brought him back.
Here we go.
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to Ref the District. I'm Nathan Perry. That's the Stoner. And we're here with you right now because we just can't catch a break. We cannot at all. Washington is on the victory.
There, Nathan.
Yeah. Is on the victory trail after beating the Bears. But unfortunately, this Victory Monday has brought some sour news. And this is kind of expected. You heard a little bit of the rumblings over the weekend. But Carson Wentz was going to go see a specialist, and the verdict has come back that we're likely going to be without Carson Wentz for about 4 to 6 weeks. In fact, we do have the man himself, Ian Rappaport's tweet here. Let's bring you that right now. So this is a dual header here. Commanders, I'll read the bottom one first. Commanders QB Carson Wentz is facing a recovery time of roughly 4 to 6 weeks, and an injured reserve is a consideration. Sources tell me and Mike Garofalo. He's currently in Los Angeles meeting with a hand specialist because of his fractured ring finger. And then he quote tweets this to say Carson Wentz is set for surgery to repair his fractured finger later today. This is October 17th of 2022. So Carson Wentz hitting potentially that injured reserve.
Mm-hmm.
But at least going to be out 4 to 6 weeks. We can say 5 weeks. We can we're lucky and it's 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Maybe we never see him play QB for the Washington Commanders. That's
hot take alert.
Yeah, that's that is actually what I think is going to happen. But we'll save that conversation for another time. Right now, the conversation comes down to Heinicke or Howell.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Stoner.
Mm-hmm.
The team has all but said, or it's already come out, that Heinicke's going to get the start.
Yep.
Who would you, if you were the one pulling the strings right now, who would you put in?
I wouldn't even hesitate. And I would put Taylor Heinicke as my starting quarterback. There's a lot of reasons. There's a lot of reasons against it, right? But Taylor Heinicke, you know what you got with Taylor Heinicke. And some say, well, that's the whole reason not to start him, because you know what you got and it's nothing special, right? But you do know what you have. You have the confidence that within 1 week, you can have him ready and he'll go out there and he'll be competent in the quarterback position. He's not going to be flashy. He's not going to make big-time throws like Carson Wentz can make and has made this year. But he is going to run the offense competently. Sam Howell, you don't know. And here's the biggest reason why I say it should be Taylor Heinicke. People want to tank, right? We always talk about this whole tanking thing. Let's just throw Sam Howell out there and let's just see what happens. We got nothing else to lose. We stink. We're not making the playoffs. Well, there are 16 teams in the NFC. 11 of them either have 2 or 3 wins. There's only 5 that don't. You got the 3 in the NFC East above us, right? And then you've got Minnesota, and then you've got 2 below, Detroit and Carolina, who have 1 win. Everyone else is right bunched up there. So you might say this team's not playoff worthy, that they're not going to make the playoffs, but they have an opportunity still. You're 6 weeks into this whole thing, right? Imagine going in, these guys, these coaches, these players have seen Heinicke and Howell every day since June, late June, early July, whenever training camp was, right? They know who the better backup quarterback is, right? Imagine going in there and saying, well, guys, we're just going to kind of go with this rookie. We don't have a chance for the playoffs. Imagine saying that to Jonathan Allen. I dare you. I dare you to go up to Jonathan Allen and say, you know what? We're not really worried about winning this year. We're just going to kind of see what this rookie's got, and then maybe we'll draft a quarterback and see what happens next year. Imagine saying that to Jeremy Reeves, okay? A guy who's fought his ass off for 4 years to try and make a roster, and he makes the roster. Imagine going to tell him, say, yeah, I know we've seen Heinicke and Howell, but we're going to go with the third guy just because he's a rookie and he's got some upside. Imagine telling Jeremy Reeves that, right? They have a chance. It's an outside chance. I'm not delusional about their playoff chances. There's a chance they can make the playoffs. And that's more money for these guys who live paycheck to paycheck. And you can say it's a lot of money. It's not when you're talking about a 5 or 6 year career that they get to earn this and then have to go out and get a real job. Again, use a guy like Jeremy Reeves, an end of the bench kind of guy, and tell him that we're not going to give you the opportunity for a playoff check, that extra hundreds of thousands of dollars. You're going to lose the locker room if you do that. If your coach comes in and tells you, we're going to go with the guy who's not ready and who does not give you the best chance to win. That's my case for going with Taylor Heinicke. It's what I would do, and it's what Ron has to do, and it's what this organization as a whole has to do moving forward today. Ask me again in 2 weeks, okay? And I may have a different opinion.
Well, Heinicke is definitely a very known value, and one of those known values is you kind of mentioned it there. Heinicke's not going to be able to hit some of the throws that we've seen from Carson Wentz. You're not going to have that 75-yard touchdown bomb to De'Ami Brown. You're not going to have, he's had some, spectacular plays Heinicke has, but he does not have as big of an arm.
That's right.
That's something that our wide receivers, now not our offensive line, which we'll get to in a moment, hasn't been really giving enough time for those plays. But our wide receivers have the speed to beat defenses. Yeah. And you're taking that away from us by having Heinicke start. Howell has a rocket of an arm.
Does. Yep.
And that's part of the playbook that you can keep. Now, it's very interesting, Stoner, that you say that Heinicke gives you the best chance to win, because there's a lot of people out there, because of Howell's arm and his legs. Let's not forget that he is as much of a scrambler as Taylor Heinicke. Why don't you think that Sam Howell doesn't give you a chance to win?
It's very cliche, but it's true. Cliches come about because they're true. Right?
They're truisms, right?
They're truisms, right? He was passed up 5 times by every single team. And some teams a 6th time. And then Washington finally drafted him in the 5th round. Check my math, whatever. You know what I'm saying. Every team passed on him a bunch of times. And then finally Washington was like, well, let's go take a flyer on him. Okay? You can say he was a first rounder before his senior year, and all these pros left him, like the De'Ami Browns. They left him with an empty cupboard, and he didn't have any talent around him. Well, okay, but everybody saw that, and everybody evaluated, and everybody said he's not worthy of being picked high. Okay, he went to training camp. He did all these things. He never moved past the 3rd string. He never got to the point where they said, we love this guy. We love everything he's doing. We're going to have him as our backup in case Carson Wentz goes down. No, that was never the case. He's never dressed for an NFL regular season game for a reason. He takes time. Guys don't just come out of nowhere and become an NFL starting quarterback after 5 weeks and are successful in the long run. 1 or 2 or 3 do. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds do not.
Fair. Stoner, though, this is no longer the 80s or even the 90s where you have to have a QB who sits for 3 to 4 years and develops. You can see what you have in Sam Howell right now. You have Zap, who is taken after Sam Howell, throwing for 300 yards and winning games.
Yeah.
So when you're telling me that you can't just put him in there and expect to win, I take great umbrage with that, because you can, and you have seen it. You have seen, teams put in rookies, and we're not saying that they have to be somebody like Lamar Jackson, who came in midseason and then just hasn't ever given up the seat and is an MVP. Okay. That is by far an outlier, also a very high round draft,
first rounder. Right.
Yeah. Not a lower round, but I mean, you have like Minshew mania, Gardner Minshew, who's people still pine after all these years, and he can win you games. And Sam Howell has the arm and has the running ability to win games right now. And then when you talk about he's not moved up the depth chart, well, one, we all know he wasn't ever going to unseat Carson Wentz. They're paying that guy $28 million to play quarterback this year. Now that he's injured, there's an opportunity to see who's there. And this is where maybe during practice, he's not going to get just the practice squad, the team, what do they call it? The scout team reps. He's going to start getting more and more reps, and people are going to start really seeing what it is he does. When you talk about this coaching staff, our coaching staff might be stuck in the 80s and 90s.
Might be.
Not just because of how they tend to view things, but they very much go with the veterans over, they tend to lean that way. Now they have started rookies in certain spots. Sometimes they're forced to. Maybe their hand will be forced here.
Right.
But they're probably not giving Howell a big chance because they know what they have at Heinicke. Heinicke's also earning like $3 million, and they knew that they were going to be starting Carson Wentz. There should be an opportunity here for Howell to show us what he has. I mean, you're talking about his last year. I mean, going into 2021, he was looked at as if he were going to be a top 10 pick after his freshman and sophomore seasons. And he kind of did have a little bit of a down slide that year. A lot of it was attributed to a horrible line, and a lot of it was attributed to, missing some NFL talent with him. That being said, it still was very respectful. Okay. 62% completion percentage. You had 3,000 yards. Now he threw for 3,500 the year before, but what he didn't do the year before was rush for 800. So he ended up with more yards, and he had 11 rushing touchdowns, 24 passing touchdowns, which was again more than his 30 passing and only 5 rushing touchdowns the year before. So I mean, he was actually overall stats, which is a dual threat QB, is what honestly teams are kind of going for right now. And one of the big plus sides to your guy in Heinicke, a lot of what people are excited about with Heinicke right now is this offensive line hasn't been able to pass block, and Heinicke's been shown to be a little bit more of a mobile quarterback.
He also gets sacked a lot.
He does get sacked a lot because he also tends to hold on to the ball a little bit more. So why not give it to the rookie who might just be 1 read, 2 read running?
Because he's not ready.
What do you mean? You don't know that he's not ready.
You just said he's barely getting any snaps in practice. He's getting scout team reps. And now you want to throw him out against Preston Smith and this Packers defensive line, right? And Aaron Rodgers on the other side and all. That's who you want to throw him out in his debut after 3 months of practice in this offense? That's what you think that's going to be successful?
I hate to tell it to you, but eventually he's going to get put out in front of an NFL caliber defense. It doesn't matter who's on the other side. It could be Aaron Donald later on.
Yeah,
are you going to put him in front of Micah Parsons? Are you going to put him in front of, that Philly defensive line?
Yeah.
How about Thibodeau, who just had a strip sack against Lamar Jackson? You're going to have to put the guy out there at some time.
Not
and you want to put Taylor Heinicke out there against these, which
he's competent.
You have tape amongst tape amongst tape, not only what Taylor Heinicke does, but of your takes on Taylor Heinicke.
Taylor Heinicke is horrific quarterback with a noodle arm, but you're asking me to compare him to Sam Howell. I'm not comparing him to being a starter in the NFL. I'm comparing him to Sam Howell, and he's light years ahead of Sam Howell. Stop with this whole let's just throw him out there and see what happens and hope. This is the kind of football we're doing. That's not how the NFL works. And I don't care what sort of attitude that you have towards Ron Rivera and the coaching staff, they don't do this. They don't go, let's just throw a guy out there and hope. They know what they have in these two quarterbacks. They've seen them day in and day out. Taylor Heinicke was the number 2 quarterback for a reason all of this time. There's a reason they brought him back after last year's 7-9 team, or 7-10, when he was 7-8. There's a reason they brought him back for more money than he was making the year before, whatever it was, and wanted him on this team for this exact reason, to be able to go in there on a pinch or with 1 week's prep if he has to, when Carson Wentz eventually gets hurt, because it seems like he does just about every year. At least some sort of injury. Not where it's going to keep him out for a whole lot of games, but he gets some sort of injury where he possibly misses a game, 2 games, 3 games, whatever. This is why they brought him. They didn't bring him here to get passed up by a guy who's not as good as him in the hopes that he's going to give you a chance to win. Again, go tell Jonathan Allen that you're going to throw Sam Howell in there because the season is lost already. You've got
no one's saying that.
Playoffs.
You are saying that.
Everybody is saying that's
no.
Why
don't get you don't Stoner. You of all people.
Everybody is saying
you
that.
Of all people. You're the guy who's just like, you can't tell me that FedEx is the worst stadium if you haven't been to every stadium. You have not talked to everybody. Not everybody has said. First off, I'm not saying put him in there because the season's lost. All right. I think the team is making the smart move by playing Taylor Heinicke. Okay. For the record, I'm saying that Sam Howell might be an unknown quantity, and you might have more excitement with him. You're going to have the long ball with Sam Howell. You're going to have those scramble plays with Sam Howell. The only thing you're missing, the drop down really to me from Taylor Heinicke to Sam Howell, is going to be the decision making. And you kind of already talked about this with Taylor Heinicke. The guy holds on the ball too long. He takes a lot of sacks. He also led the year in interceptions. Did he not? Last year? Correct me if I'm wrong right now. If you can tell me if he didn't lead the year in interceptions, he might have not. But I'm fairly certain that was the case.
He led who in interceptions?
He led the NFL in regular season interceptions last year. It might have not been number 1. It might have been close. He had 15 interceptions last year.
I don't think he was close to the top of the league in interceptions. 15?
We'll have to.
That's average.
I'm going to bring it up. Okay. I'm going to bring it up. But while I'm bringing it up, I want you to imagine a world where you do start Sam Howell. Tell me what scenario Sam Howell within this period that Carson Wentz is going to be out, that you start Sam Howell.
Well,
and make it positive. Okay. Don't make it Taylor Heinicke is carried out on a stretcher. Make it positive.
Okay, sure. But I mean, this is the perfect situation for Sam Howell to not start. Okay. Because what you have is, if Taylor Heinicke goes in there and he plays well, right, then great. You're happy. Everybody, the fans are happy because you're playing well and you're winning games, right? So that's good. That was a good decision. Now, if he goes out there and he does terrible, right, then you can bring in Sam Howell and you can say, okay, the Taylor Heinicke thing didn't work. We tried to have him get us over this little rough patch or whatever. Now let's go see what Sam Howell has. It's a perfect situation. But if you go to Sam Howell now and then he does crappy, then you finally go to Taylor, they're going to rip this team up and down that you just ruined a rookie that has so much promise and he couldn't hack it. And now you've ruined him forever. And then you're firing everybody and starting all over again.
He's a 5th round rookie. I mean, I don't get this. Like, you're finding out what you have in a 5th round rookie. This isn't, when people are like, and this is an argument I hate with the people who say don't start Howell because you're going to ruin him behind this line. Mm-hmm. He's a 5th round rookie. You're not ruining anything. It's a 5th round QB. Okay. This isn't like a 1st rounder. This isn't Carr with the first overall pick, who you're having sacked, like 70 times a year. Okay. This is a 5th round rookie. If he doesn't pan out, I guarantee you it has less to do with him getting pummeled, your favorite word, behind this offensive line. Okay. It's going to have more to do with the fact that he was drafted as a 5th round rookie.
Right.
All right.
So let's just go throw him out there and let's just see what we got
with that.
Let's go see what
you have seen in the preseason, okay, what he was able to do. Okay, granted, some of those guys aren't even in the league right now, but that's what we get to compare him to right now.
Yeah.
Okay. He threw for, again, a 62% average. He threw for 547 yards, and he looked darn good, right? He had the one touchdown, 1 interception. Yeah, he did take 9 sacks. So there's just, nothing. He did take 9 sacks. So he got beat up
games?
3 games. He played all 3 games.
Well, yeah, but he didn't play all of the 3 games.
Fair. He didn't. So
he played about 2 games total. 9 sacks?
Okay. 9 sacks. Well, now we know what's with this offensive line. And this is where you're like, oh, well, they have him higher they had Trey Turner higher on the depth chart. And we saw how that was. Yeah. Now, Norwell, who for at least 1 week was not well, they also had him higher. But now he kind of redeemed himself with this last game here. By the way, just to clarify, I'm sure somebody's already in the comment section with this one. Taylor Heinicke, sorry for the hive here. He did not lead the league in interceptions. It was 17 with Stafford and Lawrence. Heinicke had 15, tied with your 2 love affairs, Josh Allen and Justin Herbert.
I love them so much. Why can't we get one of those?
The big difference is they had way more touchdowns.
Yeah,
Josh Allen 36, Justin Herbert had 38. Stafford, by the way, 41. Trevor Lawrence is the only one who was worse than Taylor Heinicke in here. He had 12 touchdowns to those 17 interceptions compared to
might be a bust.
Taylor Heinicke's 20 and 15. He hasn't looked great. Lawrence hasn't, but you cannot be afraid to start the younger guy if you feel it gives you the better chance. I don't think they do. Scott Turner has to be salivating at the idea that he might have somebody who can actually make the throws that he wants. How many 7-step drops did Scott Turner give Carson Wentz against a Philadelphia rushing attack that ate them alive? He wants to see those big plays.
Yeah.
He does not want to return to a 7-10 season with Taylor Heinicke dinking and dunking. We said all last year, just wait. Scott Turner had all these gadget plays and all this. And we're like, just give him a quarterback who can throw and we'll see. Turns out Scott Turner, maybe not that good.
Yeah.
But at least give him the full caliber of a QB who can make those throws. Taylor Heinicke is more than serviceable. I've said this time and time again. I'm not trying to knock him, but I'm just saying you have a guy who has a better arm who gives you the same scrambling abilities. Taylor Heinicke is the smart play because he is the vet and he is savvy. But I want more than smart right now.
And he knows this offense, Nathan.
He does.
He knows
he's
it
very
inside
familiar
and
with this
out.
offense. That's great.
I don't think Sam Howell does.
He's familiar with the offense of everything 5 to 10 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that has brought some success to Philadelphia. You've pointed out several times they're like the air yards on most of their passes are 5 and 10 yards. The problem is
a fraud.
Sorry, okay, go ahead. Well, you can keep that hot take for another day when we get some interaction. But Jalen Hurts can still throw a deep ball. Taylor Heinicke isn't going to make you pay for coming up close to the line.
No, he's not.
He's just not.
But I tell you what, Nathan, I'll bet you $1 right now. Washington averages 17 points a game with Carson Wentz at the helm, right? I guarantee you they go over 20 with Heinicke this week. Just
this
because
week, against the Packers.
He's more adept at this offense. He knows what he's doing within this offense. He's going to make mistakes as well. He doesn't have that big playability with his arm, but he does know how to move this offense down the field. He did it against Green Bay last year, and they kept stalling because he slid one time too early, right before the goal line, and they never got in on that. I think he threw a pick on that drive or whatever. He moved it up and down the field on them. And he just didn't have a lot of success getting it in the end zone. They're going to score more than their average. I guarantee that this weekend because he has that ability. Also, let's not forget, remember last year, everything that he did with Terry McLaurin. Sure, Terry McLaurin had to fight for most of those catches. He had to go up and battle a defensive back, and jump balls and all that. But he loves throwing to Terry McLaurin. And we've been asking to throw to Terry McLaurin, throw it, right? And Carson Wentz, for whatever reason, wasn't doing it. Taylor Heinicke will throw it to Terry McLaurin. I promise you that. So that's another advantage. And again, he's not going to have the big chunk plays with his arms. I'm not saying I want him to be my starting quarterback next year. But in this particular situation, Taylor Heinicke gives you the best chance to win right now. Again, ask me again in 4 weeks when it's time for Wentz to come back and whatever the Commander's record is at that time. I may have a different answer then.
Well, you're not going to get the luxury of waiting that long because I'm going to ask you this right now.
Okay.
Carson Wentz is out 4 to 6 weeks. Maybe gets put on injured reserve. You kind of heard my hot take earlier on this, but where do you stand with Carson Wentz if he returns after 6 weeks? Or we'll just split it down the middle, 5 weeks.
Yeah.
If he comes back in 5 weeks, what do you do with Carson Wentz? Reminder here, if he plays 70% of the snaps, Washington has to give up a second-round pick.
Yeah.
They only give up a third-round pick if he plays less than those 70% of snaps. Now, given their track record on second-round picks, you might still just want to start him just to, not continue that trend. But ideally, you're getting better talent in the second round. So what do you do with Carson Wentz after 5 weeks? He comes back, clean bill of health, 5 weeks. What are you doing with Carson Wentz?
I hate to do this, but I don't know. It's so situational dependent. What if Taylor Heinicke is playing well? What if during those 5 games that he misses, what if they go 4-1? I'm just asking. I'm not saying that they will. If they go 4-1 during that time, you're not bringing him back. Okay? If they go 1-4, and depending on what the rest of the NFC is doing, you might bring him back. Or 2-3, you might bring him back because he's going to give you a better chance than Howell. But if it's just gone off the rails and they go 0-5, then you get into that whole why bother? Let's go to the rookie and see what happens. So there's really only a small window, I think, that Carson Wentz has for him to come back and start playing again after that time is if they're just kind of middling. If it's 6 weeks and they went 3-3 and Taylor's like, he's okay. It's not great. The defense is playing well, but they need more explosive plays. Let's bring Carson back and let's monitor that whole 70% thing as we go along. Cause that's going to be right about that time that if he misses 6 games and then he plays the last, whatever it is, 5 or 6, then it's going to be right around that 70%.
Yeah,
so
I think he was right on track for the Giants game before the bye. If he played half of that game, then
something like that. And that's like game 11.
Somewhere in there he was going to get, somewhere in there he was going to get 70% of snaps. So if he comes back after 4 or 5 weeks, he could very well hit that 70%. If he comes after 6, it's going to be kind of a toss up in there. Yeah. It's going to be one of those interesting things. So
it's just going to be super dependent. Again, if they're doing really well, you're going to stick with Taylor. If they're doing really bad, you're going to go to Howell most likely at that time. That could be it for Carson Wentz. Never throwing again for Washington.
If stealing my hot take there, I'm going to go down as far as this. I don't think Taylor Heinicke is given the luxury of going 0-5. Okay. I think that we see Sam. I think we see if he's 0-4, I think we see Sam Howell after that, because at that point the team is 2-8, and we'll see how the environment right now. It's very friendly because it's still very early on right now for the playoff picture. Washington isn't too far out, but at 2-8. you're
pretty much out.
You're at that time, and so one of the reasons why, and people point back to this for Ron Rivera's first season, where they were horrendous starting it out, and they benched Haskins and they started, playing the QB carousel game. But that was because the rest of the division was ugly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Even at 1-7, teams had a chance to win the division.
Mm-hmm.
At 2-8, you will not have a chance to win the division.
But you still might have a chance at a wild card.
You might.
Because look at all the other teams in the NFC. Again, there's that extra wild card, right? You got 7, you got 4, you got 3 wild cards now instead of 2. So let's just say your entire division takes up 3 playoff spots, and you got the other 3 divisions. That's 6. There's still one more out there, and who knows? Just who knows? But also, wouldn't you wait until that bye week, which is like week after week 10 or 11? I can't even remember. I think it's after
14.
11.
We're
is it way down to 14?
It's way down there.
Okay, so
you gotta bring it up again.
You wouldn't wait all the way until the bye week to give Sam Howell that extra time and getting all the reps with the ones and all that during the bye week. I mean,
bye week is 14.
Okay, I thought it was 11 and 12.
No, it's
okay.
Yeah, it's the late one.
And plus those nowadays those bye weeks, they usually get, I think they have to have all of that time off or most of that time off. Mm-hmm. They're not even allowed to practice.
It's supposed to be a big break. Here's the games that we're facing. Okay, and this kind of goes into my hot take here. We're facing Green Bay,
winner.
We're facing Indianapolis,
dub.
Minnesota,
victory.
Philadelphia,
oh, easy win.
Houston,
oh my gosh, romp.
How many get up to there? Did I lost count here?
5.
We had Green Bay, Indianapolis, Minnesota, Philadelphia, Houston, and the Atlanta Falcons.
Oh, please. They're a fraud. That's 6-0. We're going 6-0 with Taylor Heinicke.
Winnable games, absolutely winnable games. Obviously, Philadelphia is probably the biggest hitter there. Minnesota, a lot of people believe in them. I don't believe in them. Green Bay still has Aaron Rodgers, so they don't look great, but they still got Aaron Rodgers. And that puts them right before the Giants bye week Giants outlet there. So what I'm saying is, and this is kind of what you just said as well, right? If they go 6-0 with Taylor Heinicke, they're not, and they're scoring more than 17 points a game. Mm-hmm. The offense is at least moving the ball. The defense continues to try. Well, maybe not continue because the Bears ran roughshod over them, but
7 points.
They did only get 7 points.
Same.
You're not putting Carson Wentz back in. You're not. If your team's 6-0 with him after going 2-4, 6-0 with Taylor Heinicke or Sam Howell or some combination of the two, you're probably not going back to the guy who brought you to 2-4. Okay, right. You're just not going to do that.
But what if you go 3-3?
But if you go 3-3, that's where you might see him return. Yeah. But I think that's the least likely bit of chance. I think you're more likely going to go either 0-6 or 6-0, and then you're never seeing Carson Wentz in a Washington uniform again.
Yeah, with both of those records, you're not. Yeah,
you're just not. You're going to play the hot hand, or you're going to go, okay, the season is over. We've got 10 losses. Let's play the rookie. None of us are going to be here anyways. Right. But it's malpractice to, if we are here, to start the guy who we know is not going to be it. 3-3 potentially, like I said, 4-2, 2-4. I'm probably still leaning on, hey, Carson, take that extra week of care. Let's see where we stand, and after that, I just don't think we're going to see Carson Wentz back behind center for Washington.
And it's a problem too. And this is we're really getting far down the road here. But if they do just have a horrific year, and let's say Howell comes in for the last 6 games and he's like, Haskins-esque, right? When Haskins had that end of the year when I think maybe 4 or 5 games where they were like, hey, he did some good things, but, and a new regime comes in and they stick with the Howell plan. I mean, that's just the word. They're doing it again. A new regime has to bring in their quarterback.
Yes.
It's every time we bring in a regime with a leftover quarterback. and say, fix this guy.
And
it doesn't work.
A fifth round isn't left over quarterback. If Sam Howell doesn't see the field this year and Ron Rivera and company all leave Washington, you just don't have a QB controversy. Your guy comes in and gets their person. If he does play and he plays well,
what if he plays well?
It doesn't. So I'm going to go back to Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew played okay-ish. Okay. He had the Minshew mania people and Jacksonville. And what did they do? They went and they got their franchise quarterback. Right. You can still do that. Okay. Right. The new regime will not be tied to Sam Howell. But if Sam Howell goes out there and he balls, then the new regime at least has something they can work with.
Well, then you're doing the same thing. You're bringing in a new regime.
I'm saying that if he looks good, but then again, if he looks good and Washington wins games, you're probably not getting a new coaching staff.
Oh my God, we're gonna do that. So
if he's winning games, if they go to the playoffs with Sam Howell,
no. They go 2-10, and then they bring in Sam Howell, right? Yeah. And then he wins all 2-10. That's 12 games. They play 7. He goes 5-0. Okay.
Public.
I gotta do that's right. I went to public school. So he's now they go 7-10, right? And he plays really well, right? They go 5-0 with him, with Sam Howell, and he throws for in 5
averages games, 300 yards a game.
Let's not get crazy. Yeah. That's 280. He ends up with 9 touchdowns and 3 picks. Okay. But has some really explosive plays and looks competent and all that. Doesn't look like a rookie out there after a while. And he looks really good. But the owner says we can't have this 7-9, 7-10, 7-10. We're blowing out this coaching staff. You're blowing out Sam Howell too. I'm sorry, you can't come in with a whole new coaching staff with a leftover quarterback. That never works. You have to let the new regime bring in a quarterback, whether it's free agency or through the draft or whatever. They need their guy. Scott Turner got this job. He got this job because he said he could fix Dwayne Haskins. Ron Rivera chose Scott Turner because Scott Turner says, I can fix Dwayne Haskins, and here's how. And Kevin O'Connell said whatever he said. I don't even know what he said. But Ron Rivera said, you know what, Scott Turner? I've been given orders from above, from Dan Snyder, to fix Dwayne Haskins. So I want you to fix Dwayne Haskins. And he said, this is how. You're hired. You can't do that. You have to have your guy that you believe in, that you've scouted, that you want, not some guy that you're going to try and fix or you're going to try and make better, who's a leftover, who the fans want. Stop all that. I know that's down the road.
Yeah, but Dan Jones currently 5-1 with the New York Giants.
He's not going to be their quarterback next year.
He might not be, but right now he's got the Giants to 5-1. That's all I said. That's all I was pointing out. I agree with you. You cannot. So you know what's worse than a leftover quarterback, Stoner?
A bad leftover quarterback?
No. It's giving a hot seat coach the chance to draft a quarterback. That's worse, okay?
You're
because
right.
That's guaranteed to be a leftover quarterback right there. Right. Because that QB is not going to fix everything. I'm not saying Sam Howell's going to fix everything. I'm saying Sam Howell opens up the playbook and gives a chance to win games just as much as Taylor Heinicke. Taylor Heinicke's the smart choice. He's a savvy veteran. He's a steady hand. Washington is absolutely smart for making that the pick. I'm just saying I want a little excitement in my life, Stoner.
Well, you're going to get some this Sunday against Green Bay because Taylor Heinicke is going to give you some excitement. It's going to be some good and it's going to be some bad. But he's going to give you some excitement that Carson Wentz could not provide. I promise you that.
Well, he won't be providing 75-yard bombs, but he will bring us the Taylor Heinicke experience. Let us know in the chat who you would start. Do you think Washington is making the smart decision with Heinicke, or do you think they should give us the Howl experiment, cave into the Howlers, have some fun, have some excitement? Let us know in the comment section. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel. Please. Check out our sponsors, Pacers Running, Manscaped, and Skybar. We're still with Manscaped, so you can use the code REF REF at manscaped.com. I'll give you a 20% discount and free shipping. All that's available to you at manscaped.com. Trev's at Skybar. That's why he wasn't here, but we will be back every Wednesday, 7:30. Until next time, though.
What's that, Nathan?
Be a fan.
Start Taylor Heinicke.
Hey, thanks for watching us here on Ref the District. While you're at it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Check out one of these other videos here as well. We create lots of great content. Of course, we're live every Wednesday at 7:30. Things get pretty heated there as well. Until next time, be a fan.